Hi there. Thought I would put a few more items up that came from Wimbledon Bootsale last Saturday and last Wednesday. A few bits and bobs, nothing too exciting, but I thought I would put them on. It shows a bit of history. First, we have a table lamp or a bedside lamp. It's made of bakelite, needs a bit of repair. This bit has come unattached. It's got an old bakelite holder which has obviously seen better days. The name on it gave me a clue to where it came from, Gold Tone. Now I know that name was a brand name which was used by the FW Woolworths stores. This was when Woolworths was Woolworths. The company now in England has gone, but I believe it's still in Australia and Germany. But anyhow, this was the original Woolworths, and I would say it was probably dated 50s or that time, maybe a bit earlier, but I would suggest about the 50s. I can just remember a similar item to this. Now this is obviously the base, that fits in there. That's the base. Now, as you can see, it's been partially cannibalised. Underneath you can see what has happened. I would suggest that it was probably supposed to have been sold with just the one little side light, which is a neon half-watt bulb, and the centre spigot. The holder at the back, or the socket at the back, has been added. The two switches in the front, I don't think they are original. Looking inside, one would be okay, but if you had another one like that placed in where that one is, it would be fouled by that holder. So there were possibly two of that type, which is known as a Castello or a Castelco switch, a simple press on, press off switch, made by a company called Castello. This is, in fact, I'm pretty sure they're still made. There are Castelco, 230 volts, 2 amp. As I say, for our American friends, interesting that our stuff is normally rated 230 volts, or not 230, 250 volts, and you get an amperage after it. In this case it's 250 volts, 2 amp. I know in America it's often rated as 250 volts, 250 watts. Why they use 250 I don't know, but you do see this. Anyhow, I'm getting off the other subject, which I'm trying to not do. It's a design registered, made in England. Anyway, that's the base, and I think it'll be modified to add this 5 amp 2-pin socket, so that if someone had say a bedside clock, a little synchronous clock, which were popular at this time. Smith's made one, Genelex, Tempco. These are all manufacturers of little bedside clocks, alarm clocks, and I would think that's what that was put in there for, but I don't think it is original. This lamp, or the holder rather, yes, I think that was original. When restoring it, I don't know whether to keep that socket. It all depends what it looks behind that. It looks ugly. To me it looks ugly, so I might remove that and fill in the little holes that are left. The switches, I should probably put a couple of ones like the white one. So the switch will do the centre light and the other one would do the night light. Anyhow, that's, I think, more or less all I can say on this. The fact that it's old, needs a bit of work done on it. Anyhow, we'll pass on to another item. I'm just going to have a little break. Right, I have shown a similar item to this before, but as this turned up at the same time as all the other bits, and it is different to the other ones, it's certainly a different manufacturer. It's a pull switch. The cord, the piece that you'd pull has actually come adrift. It's all working. It's based on the idea of a tumbler switch. You've got your contacts there, and as the cord is pulled, so it activates the set of contacts. Try and get it so you can see it. At the moment there, it's actually shown on. You can see they're connected together. They're insulated by some layers of mica. A vitreous base. Once again we have the old vitreous name. The manufacturer is one not known to me. It looks like it says Corson. Someone out there might know that name, but it is a new name to me. Typical way the screws are kept locked in by dollops of pitch to seal them in so they don't come loose. The other side of those are the ones that appear under there, because this base would have been used for a normal tumbler switch as well. The cover is made of metal. Probably at some time it may have been chromed, I don't know, but it's got a good bit of patina on it. And in the antique trade they say that patina is a good sign. It means it is genuinely old. Well, I can assure you this is old. Possibly similar age to that little lamp that I've showed you. 30s, 40s. Yeah, next on the agenda we've just got a simple porcelain Edison screw. Made in England. No name on it, but well made and typical of this type of holder, mainly used where there's wet places or places that are exposed, being ceramic. There's less chance of it getting broken. Just a nice little baton holder. There was three of those. There was two of those, three of these. There's no point in showing all of them. Once again, I don't think that's seen a screwed in bulb for many, many years. One quick tip, if you're wiring these up, make sure the live or hot side goes to the centre contact. That way, you have less chance of touching that than touching the outer shell. Anyhow, that's the little holder. How about that for a light switch? No, the light switches would have been a bit smaller than this, but it's obviously a switch which was used to control a heavy load. I would suggest it may have been situated next to an old fuse box. It is old. It's a kind of item you could find in a museum. You can see it's got off on there. I'll take the top off. A little bit awkward with one hand. I was going to set the other tripod up, but I found I was even then a bit awkward. Now we're taking the top off and have a look inside. What I'll do, I'll screw the knob back on so I can turn it and show what happens. The little window there will line up to where it says off there. So if we imagine that is on but it's off, sounds a bit stupid, but I think you know what I mean. If I turn this switch only goes one way. It now says on. It now says off. It's a rotary switch, on, off, on, off. Have a look at the contacts. Heavy contacts, very heavy contacts. This would be suitable for DC, and the time this was used there would have been a lot of DC about, probably at 120 volts. There's your contacts. I'll try and show it moving as I turn it. Let's bring the light down. How does that look? That's actually showing one of the contacts. So I'm about to turn the knob at the top. We'll see what happens. That it's actually moved to there. There's the contact there. I showed it wrong. Let's do it again. Watch carefully because it moves very fast. Gone. Turn it again and it'll make contact. It's made contact. It's moved up. Do it again. Very, very fast. They had to do this when using DC because DC did arc. DC arced much more than AC. It didn't want to break the circuit, so as you drew the contact apart, an arc would be drawn. By doing it fast and by having a wide gap, you were okay. But of course, when AC came in, AC was a much easier way of transmitting power. Down to mainly two gentlemen, Tesla in America and Ferranti in England. They both went for the advantages of AC, which now is very obvious, but in those days it wasn't so obvious. This switch could be arranged to have two sets of contacts, and the other switch I've got actually does show an extra set of contacts. So you'd have contact like that on there and on there. So by turning, you could have, I think it was arranged that you'd have either one circuit switched and the other circuit off, or vice versa. The one circuit on here is obviously that contact and that contact there. And if you look at the contacts, very, very, very similar to the American type. Very similar. So there's the switch. At the back, let's have a little look at the back. There is a name or initials. Once again, I don't know, I've never come across this name. It looks, you can make that out, it's like a combination of letters one on top of the other. You probably just make it out. It looks like it's a MW with another letter on the outside. Now, I'm wondering whether it is supposed to be MW. If it is MW, it could be Metrovic, but that would be MV, so I don't know. Metrovic is written like that, but it's obviously MV. So there's a mystery. Once again, it's old. Look at the rust. It still works. A vitreous porcelain. I'm wondering whether this was actually made in America. I don't know. You know, those terminals tell me it could have been, but as I say, someone out there may know. Anyhow, I'll leave this one with you, and we'll come on to the last couple of items that was picked up. Right, another little interesting item which in my childhood was quite popular. Not now though, but back in the 50s and 60s, houses that hadn't changed over to the 13 amp ring main system often had 5 amp 2-pin sockets and plugs. This is a typical 5 amp plug that would have been found. It's made by a company called Clicks Patents. It later merged with Ediswan, so it became Clicks Ediswan, but this is before that. And what I want to show you is, note those little marks inside, and have a look at the plug itself. You're wondering, how on earth do we put the wire in and screw it down? Well, this is the lazy man's type. All you do is, with your twisted flex, you just bare the flex by about a 1/4 inch, fold it back, stick it under there, goes in that little hole, that then pushes down, the wire is trapped under there, you flex grip it round there, and then you twist it and it obviously goes through the cover. Exactly the same happens on the other side. There's the pin. It's a non-polarised plug. You can get, which means you can go in either way. So there was no markings for live or neutral on it, or coloured sort of metal colour and a brass colour. I know brass is a metal, but you know what I mean. And as the cover was screwed on, those little marks there would act as a flex grip, and the pins itself would also be held in by the outer. So that's your flex grip, and the outer bit in there, which I'm just showing my dirty thumbnail, that would hold the cable down. So there we are, that's a Clicks plug. They did make them in other sizes, and that was an idea that they came up with. Once again, it was made in England. No rating on the plug at all, but it was known that that would have been a 5 amp plug, a 5 amp 2-pin, and it made good contact because the pins didn't need to be spread, they were already spread, and they'd push in and marry up with the socket, and good contact was made. Anyhow, that's the Clicks Patents plug. Right, last but not least, and I'm going to add the other bulb that was in there, although I needn't because I have spoken about these before, but these other smaller lamps were also found at the Bootsale. The Osram one came with all this other stuff, and the 2 round ones came from another person. Anyhow, the little festoon bulb, they call these festoon lamps. This is an old one, Osram, and it's got on there, shows pictures of motor cars, and if you look at the type of motor car, that'll give you an idea how old they are. None of your modern cars there. The good old German Osram, and in it was what we call a festoon lamp. I've spoken of these before, but I thought, well, as it turned up and as it's a bit different, I'm going to bore you again. Little ring there, I don't know what's got in there. It's got your, it's always round the other way, whenever you do it, it's always round the wrong way. Osram, 12 volt, it looks like 5 watt. Well made lamp. See if I can show the filament. Might just see it there. I'll get it under the light in the right. There we are. I was going to use my tripod, but I reverted back to this. I find it so much easier, but there is times when you do need a tripod. And there we are, you can see the actual filament itself. There we are, one little Osram lamp. And this was obviously made when the Osram name was used in Germany by the Siemens company. In England it would have been the GEC Osram, because Osram in England would have either had the name Wotan or Siemens Brothers or Siemens Wotan, and just by chance I happen to have an example of a lamp from the same era. I would say if there's any years in it, you could probably count it on less than my hand. There was a Siemens automobile lamp for every position on every car. They're the various patents made in England by Siemens. Siemens later, well, the English Siemens got taken over and various name changes, but anyhow, this is what I remember Siemens as, the S with the little loop on the top. Anyhow, there were several of those, but only two types of lamp. Anyhow, once again, a little bit of patina. Other people would say rust, but I'd say a bit of patina. 6 volt, 6 watt. There's the Siemens logo. It says Siemens gas filled. BAS was, well, let's put it like this. I remember it in my younger days on lamps, particularly car lamps. Whether it was an association, I don't know, but it appeared on lamps made by different manufacturers, just as Lucas is today. Lucas lamps, or they did, well they still do, I don't know, but in the older days, lamps by Osram, Mazda, Siemens, they would have Lucas authorised spare. Well, I think this BAS is a forerunner of that. There's a date code there. I'll put that there because I know there's someone out there who might tell me what the age is. It's Siemens, it's English Siemens. It's a double contact SBC, small bayonet cap, double contact, as opposed to an SCC, which is small centre contact. There's a double contact lamp, and there's the filament. Intact, never been used. I don't think those wires touch before leaving the bulb. In those days bulbs were beautifully made and they were centre. Often now stuff's knocked to one side or it's just not well made, but this one was. What I was also going to say, if you look at the etch on the glass, nothing to do with the lamp itself, but we have M and a crown and P. M with a crown and a P. That stood for the Metropolitan Police, and they're the police force which controlled London. So these lamps had obviously been stored somewhere for many, many years. The other one is, this is actually still Siemens, 6 volt, 3 watt, BAS again, name Siemens on the back, Metropolitan Police, the same cap, small bayonet cap, and there's the innards, once again nicely lined up. So the last two, well, second to the last item are those two bulbs. Very last item in this little batch, and I've included it because it was in that Woolworths lamp. In fact, this was here last Saturday at the boot sale. That was when I got those other items that I put up, and I got all the way home and I thought, well, why on earth didn't I pick that up as well? I thought it's only going to get smashed. Well, when I went back on Wednesday, it was still there. So, as I say, the dealer at the boot sale gave me a bag and told me to put some bits in, which I did. I was honest. I told him what he said it would have cost last time, and he was pleased about that. It wasn't dear. £10. The reason it's £10 is because just the name Bakelite, dealers seem to think that is the bee's knees, and it's going to fetch money. I've got it as a collector. No, I'm glad I got it. Anyhow, there's the bulb that was in it once again. Good old patterner. Where it was in the holder, it's kept clean. And looking at it carefully, it looks like it's got GLIM, which would be Osglim. So that dates it, because after then it became Osram, or it was the same company, but Osram neon lamps use the name Osglim. There would be, I would think, and I haven't tried it, I'm obviously will only try it with on a Variac first. I would assume, and if you look in the stem, you'll see a bit of sleeving on one of the conductors that are going in. See it there, that's sleeving. Well, that normally, and I say normally, don't take it for gospel, means that there is a built-in resistor. But if in doubt, put it in series with a 15 watt bulb or something like that. It's very small. If you use a Variac, be very careful, because you can blow these as easily as anything, and they are worth money, these. As I say, I've seen beehives go on eBay for £70. So, you know, do look after them. They're a rare item now. They're something well worth keeping. Anyhow, I'm gabbling on so long. So, I am going to end now. Once again, thanks for looking. Any comments, please make. Please subscribe, please rate. All the normal things that I say. If I have driven you to sleep, I will apologise. Well, will I apologise? Yeah, I might as well. Anyhow, joking apart, thanks for watching, and we'll see what turns up next. I can always find the odd item. Well, hopefully I can always find the odd item. Once again, thank you. Thank you again. Thank you.